Today we're checking out Bag End. This build was a collab with a couple other guys for Middle Earth collaboration, hosted over on Bobalug Instagram account. You want to go check that out? I'll drop a link in the description. That way you can see my build and everyone else's build. But today we're going to be taking a look at all the techniques that I used to achieve this look. So this isn't even connected, actually. Well, that one is, but yeah. Yeah, this just uses some D-snot pieces and a headlight brick, snot brick, whatever you want to call it. Actually, that's a pin, but yeah. This right here, this was probably one of my favorite techniques used in the entire video. So, how'd I do this, you wonder? It's flexy. Minifigure hands. If you take a hand, you stick it in there like that, and then you take two of them, and then you can connect them like that to get this fun, cool effect that can be posed in many different ways. It's a lot more stable when you have more of them, but yeah, you can do a lot with that. That's fun. I'd never used that before, but I've been wanting to for a while. Next up is the roof. A lot of these just sit there because you can see this is all built with snot technique. So yeah, a good amount of these just rest in there, and it's a very fragile build. But then this part you can see now finally is actually connected to the back of the build. The next is this whole little part. This is all just built with the snot technique again. A lot of snot going on here. If you don't know what that is, it's stud snot on top. So you build on the side with this connection point right here. Next up, let's take a look at the wall of the building first. Again, this is all just built with snot techniques, really. These aren't even connected. They just kind of rested in there. But if we turn this around, there is a stud reversal achieved with some bars right here. So I'll break this down a little further. You have the two pieces right here that aren't connected. Can't connect this way because there's no stud. So grab some clips and some bars. That way they clip on like that. I use that a lot. It's pretty handy. Again, same thing going on here. This is all technically built like this. Once you put it on its side, it looks more like a door. Next up, we have the door frame. I really like this technique. I use this when I can, when it fits, but it's really pretty simple. These are just 1x2 plates that aren't pressed in all the way. So if you were to straighten them out, it'd just look like that. But that's not as fun. So if you take them and just press it slightly in like that, do it enough times, you get the rounded effect that then was use these mixel joints connected to the stud to get it to stay in place. These are both pretty simple, just not even gonna really talk about them, but little bench and a little birdhouse. Next up, we have all the grass used to achieve this highly vegetated look surrounding the steps. And really, I just take a big chunk of it out. A lot of it's just kind of sitting there. Some of it is connected, like this one. But yeah, a lot of them really aren't connected. A lot of it's just kind of like propped up, and you kind of gotta not touch it or else stuff falls. Like this one, mainly the leaves, I guess. All of the three-pointed stem pieces for the most part are connected, but yeah, it's really just used to cover the rather ugly looking transition in elevation. Just look at that. I mean, that doesn't look as cool. Not quite like this does. Next up, we'll go down here to the fence. This was fun. I'd never tried this before, but it really does just make use of the whip pieces. And yeah, it was just placed on here, and I just would wrap it around. It's kind of fiddly, but if you just play with it, you get that look. And so yeah, that was what I used for the fence there. I guess next we can look at the terrain. It was mainly just achieved using this piece, which typically is used in this fashion, but I decided to place them upside down, and they would just fit right into there to achieve that cobblestone looking path almost. But yeah, it's just pretty simple, mixed with some quarter slopes, or quarter tiles rather, and some cheese slopes, just to give it sort of balance between studded and smooth, to make it seem like people had been using the path frequently. Next we have the mailbox here. The bucket just fits on right there, and it looks like a little mailbox. But it's the same thing again right here. You can kind of see that clip piece right there, just holding them on. I'll get all these out of the way so I can go over the stairs. The stairs I really like. The stairs are kind of what started it all. That was the first technique I actually figured out what I was going to do. Because the way I did this, I'll put a picture up on screen, but I didn't know the height of the terrain initially, so I figured out all the techniques I wanted to do first, almost like a sketch. And then once I knew how everything was going to come together, I added the terrain and I just put it all onto this build. Here we have the stairs now. Just use these archway pieces, I think. And because the back has this little opening right here, took a 1x2 plate with some holes in it, and then kind of just put it like that. And then you can position it to whichever way you want it. And then again, just did the same thing with this one, and then this one, and then obviously this one too. One of my favorite portions is this little rock bit right here. I feel like it really gives it some good life. You really get the feel that this was just like cut out of the world, and that was kind of what I was going for. I'm gonna break this down very slowly. It's very fragile. This is a stud reversal technique using a 3-leaf piece, but is essentially this piece. This broke off, and I decided to use it as a small stud reversal right there because it really does work pretty efficiently. And I like that it's not entirely secure. It just makes it look a bit more like a rock structure. And then here, same thing on this one. Just turns out to be another little section with a stud reversal to get that look, so it can just fit right in there. And then here, it's a bit more complicated. We've got the 2 cheese slopes on the side right there. And then because there's just the slightest of gap, I had to use this neck bracket right here. So the cheese slopes just sit there, which is why when I move them, they're gonna fly at me. But the neck bracket was held on like this, and then they were just, obviously you saw sitting right in there to keep them in place and to fill that gap, to not also have that just be resting, because if all that's resting, it's a bit of a disaster and it's eventually gonna fall out. But then the last connection here is just using another stud reversal technique to get the piece to come down using a, whatever you want to call this piece, I don't know, I've heard it called a nipple tile. Make of that what you will. And then a 1x1 with a hole in it. So that way you have the anti-stud on both sides. And then it can fit in there. just like that. Really the last thing to I think to mention is this grading effect that I used, just to try to get it look like some actual dirt rather than just having a transition of reddish brown to the green. I feel like that wouldn't look as nice like that. Like if you get the dark brown to make it look weathered a bit. So I hope the takeaway from this video was you learned a new technique that you can use in your own builds, or just enjoyed hearing me talk about it. I think that's really all I got to say for now. So yeah, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.